The ethics of pay-to-win mechanics in free-to-play games. Pay-to-win, P2W, mechanics in free-to-play, F2P, games have sparked considerable debate in the gaming community. These mechanics, where players can spend real money to gain in-game advantages, raise questions about fairness, player experience, and ethical practices. Here's a look at the key ethical issues surrounding P2W mechanics. 1. Impact on fairness and competition. P2W mechanics can undermine fairness in games by giving paying players an advantage over those who don't spend money. This can create a competitive imbalance, where success is less about skill and more about spending power. Such disparities can frustrate non-paying players and diminish the competitive integrity of the game. 2. Exploitation of vulnerable players. F2P games with P2W mechanics can exploit vulnerable players, such as those with addictive tendencies or young gamers with limited financial understanding. The enticing nature of in-game purchases can lead to excessive spending, which might not be immediately apparent to players. This raises ethical concerns about targeting and exploiting these individuals. 3. Disruption of gameplay experience. Pay-to-win mechanics can disrupt the gameplay experience by altering the game's balance. When players can buy their way to success, it can detract from the enjoyment and sense of achievement that comes from earning rewards through skill and effort. This can lead to a less satisfying experience for all players involved. 4. Encouragement of gamification of spending. The integration of P2W mechanics often involves gamifying spending, such as through loot boxes or microtransactions. This approach can encourage players to spend money impulsively, driven by the thrill of chance or the desire to unlock specific items. The ethical issue here lies in the potential for fostering unhealthy spending habits. 5. Transparency and disclosure concerns. Ethical concerns also arise regarding transparency and disclosure of P2W mechanics. Players should be fully aware of how spending money will affect their gameplay experience. Lack of clear information about the advantages gained through purchases can be seen as misleading and manipulative. 6. Effects on game longevity. P2W mechanics can affect a game's longevity and community. If players perceive the game as unfair or exploitative, they may leave, leading to a diminished player base and a less vibrant community. This can ultimately harm the game's long-term success and player engagement. 7. Differentiation between pay-to-win and pay-to-progress. Not all in-game purchases are created equal. There's a distinction between pay-to-win and pay-to-progress models. Pay-to-progress allows players to expedite their advancement without necessarily giving them a competitive edge. Ethical concerns are less pronounced with models that offer convenience rather than advantages in competition. 8. Impact on game design and development. The focus on P2W mechanics can shift the priorities of game developers from creating a balanced and enjoyable experience to maximizing revenue. This shift can lead to designs that prioritize monetization over player satisfaction, raising questions about the ethical responsibilities of developers. 9. Consumer protection and regulation. Regulation and consumer protection are crucial in addressing the ethical concerns of P2W mechanics. Many countries are exploring or implementing regulations to ensure that players are protected from exploitative practices. Ethical game design should align with these regulations to ensure fair and responsible practices. 10. The role of player agency and choice. Ultimately, the ethics of P2W mechanics hinge on player agency and choice. Ethical practices should ensure that players retain meaningful control over their gaming experience, without being coerced into spending money. Providing options for fair play and maintaining transparency are key to addressing these ethical concerns. Conclusion. Pay-to-win mechanics in free-to-play games present significant ethical challenges, including impacts on fairness, player experience, and exploitation. Addressing these issues requires a balance between revenue generation and maintaining a fair, enjoyable gaming environment. Ethical game design should prioritize transparency, player choice, and responsible monetization practices to ensure a positive experience for all players.